It's the smell you notice first. Sweetness doesn't belong to winter. Not in the North End, where January saws through coats and stone. But on this Wednesday, the air itself tastes like a candy shop. Molasses, warm as a kitchen, honeyed as a sundae. It threads through the narrow streets and brick alleys, slips under doors and into throats. Men on the docks joke that someone set a pudding on fire. A grocer props open his door to let the scent pull in customers. A child palms a crust of bread to soak any syrup he can find along the curb. And there is always syrup to find. The tank squats at the end of Commercial Street, 50 feet tall, 90 feet wide, a round iron skyline. It is a fact of life, like the L tracks overhead and the harbor beyond. A steel moon dropped on the city. People say it leaks. You can press a finger to a seam and come away sticky. Some days the rivets weep. Some evenings when the sun goes down, the giant looks back like a dark pond, reflecting the last orange slice of day. On this day, a horse shivers outside the firehouse, steam ghosting from its nostrils. A train rattles along the trestle, iron talking to iron, and the smell grows richer, like a kitchen that keeps adding sugar. Someone laughs. If only the cold could caramelize. Someone else says, as long as the tank holds, the wind doesn't answer. But the tank does. If you stand close, you can hear it, a slow iron breath. Purity Distilling built the tank fast. War does that to men. It shortens their patience and lengthens their ledgers. Molasses makes industrial alcohol. Industrial alcohol makes munitions. Munitions make money as long as there is a use for them. So the tank went up quick. Thin steel stitched with eager rivets, a giant drum to hold 2 million gallons. It was never properly water tested. No weeks of filling and waiting, listening, checking. There were complaints, of course. Loud rumblings within, the metallic groans, the sweat of brown at the seams. Company men told the neighborhood not to worry. It's only molasses, someone said. It's not TNT. But everything is TNT if you pile it high enough and lock it behind metal too thin for what you ask of it. The locals learned to treat the tank like weather. Boys would tap a drip into tin cups for sweets their mothers couldn't afford. Teamsters would curse the sticky tracks their wheels carved in summer. A baker swore his morning loaves rose better when the air tasted like rum. Life built itself around the risk because that is what people do. The smell, the great round shadow, the lazy tears of syrup. They all became part of the neighborhood, like a neighbor you didn't choose but learned to greet. Noon bleeds into 1:30. A delivery boy angles his bicycle around a stack of barrels. 2 women trade gossip at a stoop, scarves knotted tight. At the firehouse, a card game leans into a hand that looks too good to fold. A streetcar's bell dings faintly, far off. There is a sound like a cough swallowed by a cathedral. Steele finds the exact word for surrender and says it out loud. The tank splits. For a fraction of a second, nobody understands what they're seeing. The human mind has no shelf labeled molasses wave. But there it is, a wall of brown that is not water and does not move like water. It heaves forward, a 25-foot fist, not foaming but rolling, dragging the street with it, and all the heavy world that trusted the rules of gravity and friction just a minute ago. It hits a truck and folds it. It buckles the elevated tracks, lifts a streetcar, kisses the firehouse and turns its front into a mouth that can't stay closed. The wave wraps a horse, and you can see the animal fight because that's what animals do until the rules change faster than instincts can carry them. A man on the card table rides the table like a raft. Then the raft is a coffin. Then he is gone under sugar faster than anyone can dial fear to its highest setting. Those who run discover something new. You can't run in syrup. Legs sink. Boots go missing. Balances forces without asking permission. The child's hat floats. The child does not. People remember sounds, the deep grind of iron on brick, the wooden yowl of beams pried from their nails, the churn, churn, churn of a city made into batter. The neighborhood that never imagined a wave like this learns, in a violent lesson, what viscosity can do when asked to move like a train. When the wave flattens into a sea, it is no easier. Molasses slows to a cruel crawl, deep as a man's chest in places, thicker than a dare. Rescuers arrive with ropes, with boards, with the conviction that you must try, because trying is the only job left. They make bridges out of doors and fence rails. A firefighter steps forward, immediately mired. He moves by inches, the way a man might dream of moving in a nightmare. Another pulls him back by a belt. A third pushes a barrel to use like a floating drum, a trick learned on the harbor. A woman on a second-story windowsill throws down a sheet. Someone ties it to a wrist they can't see, a wrist that slips free with the last of its strength. The sheet lies there, gingham against brown, waving to nobody. They find people by listening. There are sounds in the molasses, bubbles of trapped breath, a tapping that could be a ring against a buried board, a grunt cut into pieces. Men follow the noises and sink themselves. Somebody ties a rope around a rescuer and calls him back when the rescue becomes drowning with nobler intent. Molasses is a time machine. It preserves. It wraps what it can't release. When they pull a body free, it shines under the winter sun, glazed and unreal. A man looks like a statue somebody dropped into syrup and left to cure. Horses, there were so many horses, wear the same lacquer of failure. A man finds his wife's earring in the brown sludge. He pockets it because it is something that survived with a shape, and shapes matter when the world becomes mush. Night comes slow, as if even the dark doesn't want to wade through this. Lamps make honey-colored halos that go nowhere. Men keep digging because stopping means admitting the molasses has won. By morning, the numbers begin to settle. 21 dead, 150 injured. A neighborhood changed to a different version of itself. But numbers are not the right units. The correct units are names, and nobody can carry all the names at once. The company, the good enough empire, does what companies often do first. It points at everything else. It must have been anarchists, they say. Bombs are common in these times. Perhaps the steel failed due to an act of God. Perhaps the weather, the cold snap followed by a warm day, expanded the syrup's desire to be somewhere else. But neighborhood memory is long and specific. There were leaks. There were groans. There were people, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, who saw the seams sweat and heard the iron whimper and knew a bad idea when it sang. There was a night watchman who told anyone who would listen that the tank wasn't right. There were children who learned to line up cups under the drips like it was a holiday. In court, the language changes. Engineers talk in inches and tensile strength. Lawyers arrange cause and effect into tidy rows. The company men sit with their collars crisp. What comes out, slow but relentless, is a story about thin steel and cheap rivets, about a tank put up in haste, about a lack of testing excused by a need to hurry a prophet along. It is about the arithmetic of risk taken on behalf of other people's bodies. The judge, patient as winter, listens long enough for the truths to settle to the bottom, where truth is heavy. When the decision lands, it lands like justice trying not to declare itself too loudly. The company is found liable. Money moves late and insufficient. The city adds new expectations, inspections, standards, a new respect for how the invisible choice, to test or not, to spend on steel or not, bites with real teeth. It is one of the first big moments when an American court says, in effect, you do not get to call disaster an accident when negligence is the architecture. You can scrub a street until your hands know the fingerprints of each cobble. You can pump out basements and scrape porches and throw away rugs and coats and shoelaces. You can wash windows from roof to sill, and still, on a hot day in July, the air will reach back into January and borrow that same sweetness. For years, the harbor runs brown at the edges. People track molasses through town, out of town, into train cars and down to other cities. Rats find religion. They multiply with the faith of creatures who've discovered a second Eden. Parents sniff their children's collars before church, wondering if anyone will notice the lingering bakery of catastrophe. And yet the neighborhood goes on because neighborhoods are built to go on. The firehouse is rebuilt. The tracks are repaired. The tank's footprint is paved. And someone, in a future no one can imagine on that day, will put a park there. And children will play tag where a wave once decided the facts of gravity were suggestions. There is a way to tell this story as absurdity. Death by dessert, a world made slapstick by sugar. That is not the right way. The right way is to understand the quiet arithmetic of cause, a decision to rush, a habit of shrugging at warnings, a culture that hangs a price tag on precautions and calls it prudence to leave them on the rack. We like to think disasters are acts of nature. It forgives us. Nature has no board of directors. But this was a man-made winter storm, designed, approved, installed, ignored. And once, for a few bewildered minutes, it moved like a myth through a city that did not have the proper stories for it. If you go to the North End on a hot day now, most people won't smell anything at all. The city has lived a century. Memory fades, but if you stand still and keep faith with ghosts, you might taste a sweetness at the back of your mouth, the kind that doesn't belong in winter or in tragedy. The molasses didn't just flood streets, it flooded a belief that shortcuts are merely efficient, that good enough is a useful coworker, that tomorrow is always generous. It thickened the air until we understood that weight matters, testing matters, listening matters, that you can drown in negligence as surely as in water, and that nothing in this world is only, not even molasses. Boston's flood of sugar and sorrow eventually settled. Its survivors rebuilt, its streets scrubbed, its shame buried under the march of time. But not every stain washes out, because just a few centuries earlier, another spectacle was taking shape, one that didn't just drown its city in molasses, but in madness itself. A courtroom where the accused could not speak, the defense could not stand, and the plaintiff was the living pope, while the defendant was a corpse. Next time, on Lore&Ruin, we exhume one of the most grotesque trials in history, the Cadaver Synod, when the church put a dead pope on trial.